Hello everyone, it's Connal Finlay here, the owner and director of the Cellar store down in New Zealand, and welcome to today's episode of the Cellar TV. So, what we're going to be trying today is a rather beautiful Pinot Noir, and it's going to be from, well, here's a little close-up for you all at home. It's the Erath Vineyards, and it's their Prince Hill Pinot Noir. Erath Vineyards, interestingly enough, are actually from Oregon State. Now, some of you might be aware, some of you avid Pinot Noir drinkers, or just wine drinkers in general, might be aware that Pinot Noir is actually one of the now leading grape varietals and the main grape varietals of Oregon State. And that being said, also, Oregon State, alternatively, is actually now one of the hubs of top quality Pinot Noir production all across the world. Of course, we have Burgundy as being the leading place, I suppose you could say, for Pinot Noir production in the world, in Burgundy in France that is. And then we have a few other sort of European outputs that are producing some very top quality Pinot Noir. Off the top of my head, I mean, we think of Baden in Germany, or Pfalz in Germany. They're doing very, very, very well. But outside of that, that's really just Burgundy. In the New World, Pinot Noir has actually done very, very well all across California. And of course in New Zealand, especially in Central Otago and in Martinborough. But I'd have to say that Oregon State and many other wine experts and lovers and everyone else would also agree with me there in saying that Oregon is also one of the most interesting and exciting places for Burgundian style Pinot Noir. Very much in the Burgundian style, where California is quite abundant and quite fruity and quite, well, not necessarily in your face, but definitely quite a fruity and upfront sort of style, and not necessarily the floral or sort of the earthy complexity that Burgundy Pinot Noir has. There are a few producers that are like that in California, but aren't necessarily. It is more so in the sort of Napa Valley, big juicy sort of style of Pinot Noir. Not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all. It's all just difference, and difference is great. Anyway, so this is Erath Vineyards. And this was planted, the particular Prince Hill Vineyard in Dundee Hills. This was planted in 1983, so quite a long time ago, because Oregon State, as a wine producing, well, I was going to say nation, but as a wine producing region, has actually only really been planting, well, Pinot Noir or anything for that matter, since the mid-1970s and 60s. So not that long ago, really, as far as everything else is concerned, the ways of wine. I mean, people have been making wine for centuries now, so this is actually quite a new region. And it's quite interesting to note that as far as Pinot Blanc and a few others are concerned, it was actually Erath Vineyards here, which were the first vineyards to plant a whole bunch of grapes, as I say, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, a little bit of Chardonnay. They were the first to do it. Someone else bet them to Pinot Noir, I'm afraid. That was Erath Vineyards. That was a few years before, in 1964, 1965? Or was it 1961 and these guys were in 1964? Anyway, I do apologise that I don't have that off the top of my head. I am just literally just pulling up a bottle of wine and I'm wanting to taste it with you guys. So the facts are there. But nonetheless, these guys are one of the sort of the leading and historically important wineries in all of the state. And with all of that, they've got some incredible experience. And so this is their single vineyard Pinot Noir. They do make a few other Pinot Noirs as well, and they also make an estate Pinot Noir, which is a blending of their other single vineyards and their big large estate vineyard. But nonetheless, so this is their Prince Hill, and as I said, this is also from the 2012 vintage. And I think the 2013 vintage is on its way to us later this year. The 2013, yeah, so that would be the current vintage. Anyway, let's give it a sniff. So automatically, and this is something I always get with Oregon Pinot Noir, it's just really, really delicate. On the nose, it's just so delicate, and it really does have just it's got a touch of those sort of beautiful red currant and red cherry sort of flavours, and just a touch of sort of strawberries, but it's also very floral. A lot of floral aromatics here. I notice I am using a much larger bowl, bowled glass, a Pinot Noir glass. This is a Riedel, Riedel like needle, I was always told, so Riedel, not Riedel, but Riedel. And this is one of their Pinot Noir glasses. very, very, very floral, and so we are getting just sort of a touch of sort of red rose, a little bit of lavender in there as well. But I actually, and some people might go, oh, that's gross, but it does sort of have an earthiness to it. It does sort of have this sort of like fresh beetroot, like if you just pick a beetroot out of the ground, and then give that little sniff. It has got that sort of dirtiness to that sort of earthy complexity there, and that's so not a bad thing. I mean, when I'm looking for a really rich and complex sort of Pinot Noir, I'm looking for something that can just give it all, you know, not just the big fruitiness and those sort of lovely, I mean, we are getting those in here, and that is very much a main thing. The red cherries, the strawberries, and those sort of raspberries and things, but and they're lovely, absolutely lovely. And as I said, all those floral aromatics as well. But what I look for in a really, really good Pinot Noir is something that's got a little bit of oak in there as well, a little bit of those sort of, you know, vanilla-y, spicy notes, but also just that extra little kick. As I say, that little bit of earthiness. And you speak to any avid Pinot Noir, especially a Burgundy Pinot Noir drinker, and lover, and they love that earthiness. They love that sort of that garage sort of smell. You often hear people using mushrooms and forest floor, and I've even sort of heard sweaty horse and sort of, well, I don't want to say it, but people sort of say, you know, barnyardy smells, you know, sort of, you know, poo smells and things like that. People have smelled that, and people like that sometimes in wine. I don't necessarily like the poo smell, but definitely I do like that sort of leatheriness, that sort of earthiness. Anyway, it is beautiful, beautiful, and you really should pay attention to the color here as well. And Oregon Pinot Noirs, and I've tried quite a few, Oregon Pinot Noirs do tend to be quite light in color, and deceptively you think, oh God, I mean that's going to be this little weak Pinot Noir. It's not going to have anything to it, but man, looks can be deceiving. And this particular, it's a bit hard to tell in the camera here, because it does. Altogether it does look quite, you know, quite rich in color, but actually going like this, especially on a white background, by the way, as you'll notice here we've got, it does look very, very pale, almost like a very, very, well, a very intense rosé. But I tell you what, looks can be deceiving. I mean, this is just very complex. Anyway, let's give it a little taste. I'm swallowing that. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, actually. That's bloody delicious. Okay. Anyway, so on the palate there, that's delicious. There are no two ways to describe that. That is delicious. It's got a lot of intensity there. So there is a lot of fruit ripeness and richness all throughout the palate. And a lot of those sort of primary fruit flavors, again, those sort of cherries, those strawberries, those red currant sort of flavors, sort of like a dried red cherry flavor as well. There's a whole bunch going on in there. And then actually on the palate, a lot more of those sort of oakiness comes through. So you are getting sort of a vanilla note. There is a little bit of that sort of oakiness coming through, like that actual just pure oak sort of flavors, but also a lot of sort of dried sage, dried rosemary sort of flavors coming through as well. So it is very, very complex. There is a nice sort of creamy texture. It is quite light to medium in body, but that's, in all honesty, that's the way Pinot Noir should be. It should be. That should be feminine. It is the feminine red grape, effectively, where you can have big Cabernets and Shirazes and Merlots and all the rest, and they can be the big, flamboyantly, ultra-ripe and excessive red wines, and all to their part. I mean, they're fantastic when they are made well. But for me, a really, really well-made Pinot Noir is this. But a really, really well-made Pinot Noir is something that is light, something that is delicate and has got all those beautiful aromatics. And I mean, there's no reason, and this is testament to why people call Pinot Noir the holy grail of wine. I mean, it's just so delicate and just so aromatically pleasing and light and beautiful. And so please do like away, comment away, and let us know if you've tried it, if you've tried any of the other Erath wines, if you've tried any other Oregon Pinot Noir, or any other Oregon wines and all the rest. Please do let us know what you think of the video, of the wine, of any other wines from Oregon State as well. And please do subscribe, that means so much to us. We just love, I mean, we do this purely out of interest sake and wanting to share the love and share the knowledge and all the rest, because we do think that is important. We do try and think, well I do at least, try and think that we are trying to take away some of the snobbery and aspect of wine as well. Because wine is for everyone. It's absolutely for everyone. Prices might not necessarily be for everyone, but we are trying to make it accessible. Nonetheless, so please do subscribe away, share away with all your other wine-loving friends and family. As for me, I'm going to drink the rest of this glass because it's jolly bloody beautiful. Anyway, so enjoy.